How much of your life could change if you gave just 1 hour a day to your future? Not an hour spent drifting, not an hour spent scrolling, reacting, or numbing yourself with noise, but 1 hour, sharp, sacred, intentional, dedicated to building the person you say you want to become. It sounds simple, almost too simple. But that's the deception, because most people don't lose their potential in dramatic collapses. They lose it in quiet neglect, in the small, unnoticed decisions to postpone, to excuse, to delay until later, until someday. And in doing so, they trade a lifetime of meaning for a few moments of comfort. But the truth is, greatness isn't built in chaos. It's built in discipline, one focused hour at a time. In this episode, we'll explore the philosophy and the practice behind this principle, that you don't need massive overhauls or miracles. You need consistency. You need direction. You need to protect and invest one powerful hour each day, and let that hour reshape your destiny over time. Drawing from the wisdom of Socrates, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, Plato, Nietzsche, Carl Jung, Rohn, and Ralph Waldo Emerson, we'll break down how small, relentless dedication rewrites the course of your life, mentally, emotionally, physically, financially. Because time is not your enemy, distraction is. And once you reclaim that first, most precious hour, you reclaim everything. 1 hour a day can change your destiny. What if everything you ever wanted, the strength, the clarity, the success, the peace, wasn't hidden behind some secret formula or massive life-shattering event, but behind 1 hour of intention, repeated every single day? Most people look at their dreams like they're standing at the bottom of a mountain, overwhelmed by how far they have to climb. They tell themselves, maybe someday I'll be ready, maybe someday I'll have the time. But that mountain doesn't require you to sprint to the top. It requires you to take one step, today, tomorrow, and the next. One deliberate hour, every day. That's where destinies are built. Not in dramatic moments, but in quiet, invisible discipline. Rohn said it perfectly. Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines, practiced every day. It's not about overhauling your entire life overnight. It's about making small, consistent investments into your future self, the one you claim to want to meet. Because the truth is, you're either investing in that self every day, or you're drifting further away from it. Socrates warned us of another trap. Beware the barrenness of a busy life. Being busy isn't the same as being disciplined. Filling your hours with tasks, noise, and endless reactions doesn't move you forward. It buries you under the illusion of progress. 1 hour of conscious, focused effort, learning, building, creating, healing, refining, is worth more than 10 hours of chaotic busyness. But why 1 hour? Because an hour is enough to move the needle without overwhelming your system. It's long enough to break through resistance, but short enough to remove your excuses. It doesn't ask for your entire day. It asks for your priority, your respect, your decision. It demands that you carve out a sacred space where your dreams are no longer background noise. They become the focus. Imagine what would happen if you invested 1 hour a day into your body, real, focused movement, 1 hour a day into your mind, deep study, real learning, 1 hour into your spirit, meditation, reflection, gratitude, 1 hour into your craft, building, creating, refining. Stack those hours, day after day, and you're not just changing your habits, you're rewiring your destiny. But the cost is consistency, discipline, the willingness to be bored sometimes, The willingness to show up without fireworks, without applause, without the immediate dopamine hit of instant results. 1 hour a day doesn't look dramatic. It looks almost invisible. But that's how all powerful transformations begin. Quietly, patiently, relentlessly. So ask yourself now, if I had started this 1 year ago, where would I be today? And more importantly, where could I be 1 year from today if I start now? The future is not made in grand declarations. It's made in small, decisive hours, stacked on top of each other until they build a life so solid, so unshakable, that people call it destiny, when in truth it was always choice. 1 hour a day. That's it. That's everything. Own your first hour or lose the day. How many battles are lost before they even begin, simply because the first hour of the day was given away without a fight? Most people don't realize it, but the first hour after waking is not just another block of time. It's the foundation. It's the mental operating system you install for the day ahead. If you stumble into your morning, checking your phone, reacting to notifications, rushing through chaos, you are not starting the day. The day is starting you. You are not leading. You are being led. Marcus Aurelius, writing to himself to stay disciplined in the midst of an empire's chaos, said, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to think, to enjoy, to love." That is the mindset of someone who owns their first hour. It's not about routines for the sake of checking boxes. It's about setting a tone, one of gratitude, focus, and deliberate presence, before the world has a chance to pull you into its storms. Because if you don't claim that first hour, the world will. It will flood it with noise, demands, distractions. You'll be thrown into reaction mode before your feet even hit the floor. And once you start your day in reaction, it's almost impossible to reclaim it. You're no longer acting from vision, you're acting from survival, one notification at a time. Henry David Thoreau captured the cost of this mistake beautifully. The price of anything is the amount of life you exchange for it. When you give your first hour away mindlessly, you're not just losing minutes. You're trading your most potent energy, your clearest thoughts, your freshest willpower, for things that usually don't deserve them. You're pouring your best self into the void of urgency, distraction, and shallow noise. But it doesn't have to be that way. Owning your first hour is a radical act of self-leadership. It's setting an anchor of intention before the tides of the day begin to pull at you. It can be simple, a few minutes of reflection, a powerful page from a book, a calm, unhurried breakfast, writing your priorities down before you touch a screen, moving your body to remind yourself you're alive, meditating to clear the static before it builds. It doesn't have to be perfect, it doesn't have to be elaborate, but it must be yours. Because once you own the first hour, you build momentum. Mental momentum, emotional resilience, clarity, a feeling of self-respect that carries into every conversation, every challenge, every decision. The opposite is true too. If you start your day scattered, reactive, overstimulated, you carry that jittery, distracted energy into everything, and often it's not the big failures that destroy your progress. It's the hundreds of tiny, misaligned choices made from a restless mind that never had a chance to center itself. Ask yourself, how do I currently spend my first hour? Am I preparing for battle or wandering into it unarmed? Because if you lose the first hour, you lose the rhythm, you lose the chance to set the tone. But if you win it, if you protect it, guard it, honor it, the rest of the day becomes a reflection of that victory. Start strong, start sovereign, start awake. Guard your first hour like a sacred treasure. Imagine waking up each morning and realizing this hour, right here, will shape the tone of my entire life. It's not just another hour. It's a portal, a sacred window between who you were yesterday and who you have the chance to become today. And yet, most people guard their money, their time, even their opinions. But they leave their first hour exposed, open to distractions, open to noise, open to the agendas of everyone except themselves. Seneca gave us a warning disguised as wisdom when he wrote, "He who is everywhere is nowhere." That's what happens when you don't guard your first hour. Your mind is pulled in 10 directions before breakfast. Your focus is scattered before your feet even touch the ground. And instead of moving through the day like a force, you drift through it like a leaf blown by the wind. Guarding your first hour means treating it like something priceless, because it is. It's when your mind is clearest, your energy is most malleable, your soul is still open to intention before the demands of the world tighten their grip. It's a delicate, powerful space that needs to be protected, not filled mindlessly with notifications, emails, bad news, or shallow entertainment. Plato reminds us, the beginning is the most important part of the work, not the middle, not the end, the beginning, because beginnings carry momentum. They imprint the emotional signature for everything that follows. And when you defend the beginning, you defend the entire arc of your day, and eventually the arc of your life. So, how do you protect it? You become ruthless about it. You create a boundary around that first hour, the way a kingdom guards its gates. No social media, no reactive conversations, no scrambling through chores or obligations. Instead, you move intentionally. You build a ritual, one that honors your mind, your body, your mission. Maybe it's reading something that sharpens you. Maybe it's movement that energizes you. Maybe it's silence that centers you. Whatever it is, it must feed you, not deplete you. Because every unguarded first hour invites 1,000 invisible hands to pull you off course, and once you lose your center, you spend the rest of the day trying to find it again, usually through caffeine, distraction, or sheer willpower that drains you further. Guard your first hour. Defend it from urgency. Protect it from noise. Treat it as sacred, because it is. It's the foundation of your mind, the tone of your spirit, the compass for your decisions. And once you learn to protect that hour, something powerful happens. You start protecting your life with the same seriousness. Ask yourself, if my first hour shaped my entire destiny, would I still give it away so easily? Because in truth, it does. It always has. The only question is whether you'll finally guard it like it matters, because it does more than you know. Direction before action. Move with purpose. How many times have you sprinted through a day only to realize you were running in circles? There's a certain pride people take in being busy, in moving fast, checking tasks, rushing from one obligation to the next. But without direction, motion is just noise. Without clarity, effort is just exhaustion. Speed without purpose is the slowest way to live, because you can pour out all your energy, all your time, all your talent, and still end up nowhere you actually wanted to be. That's why direction must come before action. Epictetus spoke this truth with piercing simplicity. First, say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. In other words, before you move, before you grind, before you spend yourself chasing 100 little tasks, decide who you are becoming. Define it. Name it. Build a vision that is strong enough to filter your actions, because if you don't, the world will use you for its own ends. You'll find yourself running after goals that don't belong to you, fighting battles you were never meant to fight, measuring yourself against standards you don't even believe in, exhausted, disconnected, wondering why success feels hollow even when you win. Direction brings meaning to effort. It's the why behind the what. It's the difference between chasing every opportunity and choosing the ones that align with your path, between reacting to life and creating it. Nietzsche captured this wisdom when he wrote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." When your why is clear, hardship doesn't break you. Discomfort doesn't deter you. You can endure the how because you trust where it's taking you. You know that every step, even the hard ones, are not wasted. They're woven into the fabric of the life you're consciously building. So how do you move with purpose? You pause before you act. You ask, is this action aligned with the person I'm becoming? Does this move me closer to or further away from my vision? You become more selective with your yes, more disciplined with your no. You stop confusing movement with progress. You stop thinking being busy is the same as being effective. And yes, at first, you'll feel slower. You'll say no to things that others chase. You'll walk away from distractions disguised as opportunities. You'll spend time thinking before doing. But in the long run, you will move faster. Because every step will be aligned. Every hour will compound. Every effort will build toward a life that feels like yours. Ask yourself now, where in my life am I moving without direction? What would change if I demanded clarity before action? Because life isn't about how fast you go. It's about where you're going. And once you choose your direction with purpose, every step, even the slow ones, even the hard ones, becomes sacred. 1 hour of learning a day shapes a lifetime. What if the life you dream of isn't waiting at the end of some massive leap, but hidden in the quiet hours you dedicate to learning? In a world obsessed with instant success and overnight transformations, it's easy to forget that the most powerful force for change isn't speed. It's accumulation, a little knowledge, a little wisdom, a little sharpening of the mind, day after day after day. Not glamorous, not flashy, just steady, deliberate growth, 1 hour at a time. Jim Rohn, whose philosophy helped shape millions of lives, said it simply, "Formal education will make you a living, self-education will make you a fortune." School can teach you to survive, but self-education, the kind you pursue on your own time, driven by your own hunger, teaches you to thrive. It's the foundation of every great achievement, every quiet success story you admire but rarely hear about. And it's not just about financial fortune, it's about internal wealth, the kind of richness that comes from knowing how to think critically, solve creatively, and navigate life with insight instead of impulse. Ralph Waldo Emerson added his own reflection. The mind, once stretched by a new idea, never returns to its original dimensions. That's the real reward of learning. It's not just what you know, it's who you become. Every idea you wrestle with, every book you devour, every deep conversation you engage in stretches you, expands your understanding, strengthens your ability to face challenges you haven't even met yet. Imagine this, 1 hour a day spent intentionally feeding your mind, reading a book that challenges your thinking, studying a skill that sharpens your career, listening to a lecture that shifts your perspective, writing reflections that deepen your self-awareness. Over a week, that's 7 hours. Over a month, nearly 30. Over a year, over 365 hours of conscious, focused self-construction. And it compounds. One insight connects to another. One small shift in thinking leads to a massive shift in behavior. 1 hour of learning can save you years of trial, error, and needless suffering. But most people won't do it, not because they can't, but because learning feels slow, invisible. There's no immediate reward, no instant applause. It requires patience, a willingness to trust that today's effort will unlock tomorrow's doors. Meanwhile, the world offers endless distractions: entertainment, gossip, scrolling, noise disguised as information, and every hour spent consuming mindlessly is an hour stolen from the life you could be building. So the question isn't, do you have time to learn? The real question is, what will happen to your life if you don't? Ask yourself honestly, if I gave just 1 hour a day to deep, meaningful learning, where could I be in 6 months, in 1 year, in 5 years? The answer is simple. You would not recognize yourself. Not because life got easier, but because you got stronger, sharper, wiser. 1 hour a day, not a burden, not a sacrifice, an invitation to build a life that stretches far beyond what you thought was possible. Practice is greater than theory. How much of your life is spent thinking, dreaming, planning, but not doing? It's easy to fall in love with ideas, easy to feel intelligent when you understand a concept, when you read a book, when you attend a seminar. And don't misunderstand, ideas matter, theory matters. But the real transformation, the real separation between who dreams and who achieves, it's always found in practice, because life doesn't reward what you know. Life rewards what you do with what you know. Aristotle captured this with timeless clarity. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit, not a speech, not a sudden burst of motivation, not a single grand decision. A habit, a daily practice, repeated until it becomes who you are, not just who you wish you were. Think about it. You can read 100 books on strength, but until you train your body, your strength is theory. You can study leadership all day, but until you step up in uncomfortable moments, your leadership is imaginary. You can understand mindfulness perfectly, but until you practice it, under stress, under noise, under pressure, your calm is only hypothetical. Jim Rohn echoed this warning. Don't let your learning lead to knowledge, let your learning lead to action. Because information without application just becomes mental clutter. It tricks you into feeling like you're evolving, when in reality you're just accumulating potential that never gets expressed. Practice is the bridge between potential and reality. It's in the daily, imperfect, often frustrating attempts to apply what you've learned that real mastery is born. It's in falling down, getting up, adjusting, trying again. It's in moving from the safe, controlled environment of ideas into the messy, unpredictable terrain of real life, where nothing is clean and nothing goes exactly as planned. And here's the part most people miss. Practice is humbling. It reveals gaps you didn't know you had. It forces you to confront the distance between who you think you are and who you actually are under pressure. But that confrontation is sacred. It's how you close the gap. It's how you stop living in your head and start living in the world. So how do you make sure your learning turns into living? Simple. Every time you consume an idea, ask yourself, where will I practice this? How will I put this into motion today? Don't just finish the book. Apply one principle. Don't just agree with the podcast. Embody one insight. Don't just nod at the wisdom. Act on it until it reshapes your reflexes. Because the person you admire, the version of you that's stronger, calmer, more disciplined, they are not built in theory. They are built in repetition, in practice, in the quiet, unseen moments where you choose application over admiration. Ask yourself now, what piece of knowledge have I admired but not practiced? And what small step can I take today to bring it into reality? Because you don't rise to the level of your theories. You fall, or rise, to the level of your practice. Reflect, refine, and repeat, relentlessly. How many opportunities for growth have you missed because you were moving too fast to notice them? In a culture obsessed with hustle, output, and constant motion, reflection is often treated like a luxury, something you do when everything else is done. But here's the truth. Without reflection, repetition becomes stagnation. Without taking time to study your own footsteps, you can walk in circles for years, busy, exhausted, yet fundamentally unchanged. Socrates warned us in words that echo through time. The unexamined life is not worth living, and he wasn't speaking from philosophy alone. He was issuing a survival strategy for the soul, because without examination, without pause, without honest confrontation with yourself, you don't grow, you drift. You recycle the same mistakes under different disguises, wondering why you feel stuck. Every hour you invest in yourself deserves a follow-up question. What did I learn? Where did I get stronger? Where did I fall short? Reflection turns experience into wisdom. It extracts meaning from action. It transforms random effort into deliberate evolution. Carl Jung deepened this insight when he said, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." External achievements can dazzle the world, but internal reflection awakens you, shows you the hidden patterns of thought, emotion, and behavior that are shaping your life without your awareness. Reflection is not passive nostalgia. It's an active, powerful tool for recalibration. And after reflection comes refinement, because the goal isn't just to notice, it's to adjust. You study what worked and do it better. You study what failed and build smarter strategies. You take every mistake, every setback, every awkward stumble, and instead of labeling them as defeats, you turn them into teachers. Then, and this is where most people fail, you repeat. You don't reflect once and move on. You reflect, refine, and repeat relentlessly, like a craftsman sharpening a blade, like an athlete studying game tape, like a Stoic philosopher wrestling with their own flaws each night before sleep. You build your excellence not in a single moment of insight, but in a continuous, humble cycle of noticing, improving, and trying again. And the magic is, when you live this way, when reflection becomes as natural as action, your growth stops being episodic. It becomes inevitable. Ask yourself now, when was the last time I truly examined my efforts, my habits, my inner dialogue? What would change if I made reflection and refinement part of my daily life, not just a rare moment of crisis? Because without reflection, you risk living on autopilot. Without refinement, you risk building habits that harden into prisons. And without relentless repetition, you risk mistaking motion for mastery. Reflect, refine, repeat. That is the real grind. That is the true art of becoming. Prioritize your health. It's your true wealth. What's the point of building an empire if you're too weak, too sick, or too exhausted to enjoy it? It's easy to sacrifice health in the name of ambition. Easy to tell yourself that you'll get back in shape once the business is stable, once the deadlines ease up, once life calms down. But here's the reality. There is no later. There is only the body you're building or breaking today. And if you don't prioritize your health, life will eventually force you to, often at the cost of everything you worked so hard to achieve. Marcus Aurelius, facing the relentless demands of ruling an empire, reminded himself, "The body ought to be treated more rigorously, that it may not be disobedient to the mind." He understood something most people forget. Your body isn't just a vehicle. It's your first line of defense, your foundation, the vessel through which all your ambitions, all your visions, all your strength must flow. Neglect it, and everything else eventually collapses. Rohn echoed this modern truth. Take care of your body. It's the only place you have to live. You can rent houses, you can rebuild businesses, but you can't trade in your body for a new one. This is it. The health you protect now determines the energy, clarity, resilience, and joy you'll have access to in every future chapter of your life. And yet, health is often the first thing sacrificed. Sleep is traded for productivity. Nutrition is ignored for convenience. Movement is postponed for more important tasks. But what's more important than the system that powers every single thing you do? Your dreams are heavy. Your goals demand stamina. Your vision requires a vessel strong enough to carry it. And that strength is not built by accident. It's built by daily, often unglamorous choices. By moving your body even when you don't feel like it. By feeding yourself nutrients instead of numbing yourself with junk. By treating rest as an essential part of high performance, not a weakness. 1 hour a day dedicated to your health can change everything, not just your physique, your mind, your emotional stability, your resilience under pressure. Because the body and mind are not separate. A weak, sluggish body creates a foggy, reactive mind. A strong, energized body sharpens the mind into a weapon of focus, creativity, and presence. And here's the truth that hurts to hear, but saves lives when understood. If you don't make time for wellness, you will be forced to make time for illness. It's not a possibility, it's a guarantee. Ask yourself, if I treated my health like the sacred asset it is, how would my life look different 6 months from now? How much more energy, patience, clarity, and joy would I carry into every other area of my life? Because wealth without health is bankruptcy in slow motion. Success without vitality is just a prettier form of suffering. Choose now. Protect the vessel. Because your future self, strong, sharp, vibrant, is depending on the decisions you make today. Use the quiet hour to build financial independence. Have you ever wondered why some people quietly build wealth while others loudly struggle for it? It's not luck. It's not just intelligence. It's discipline in the quiet hours. The hours when no one's watching, when there's no applause, when every part of you would rather scroll, relax, or drift. Financial independence isn't born in big, flashy moments. It's built in the small, consistent, almost invisible decisions you make when nobody else is paying attention. Voltaire gave us a timeless insight. Work spares us from 3 great evils: boredom, vice, and need. But not just any work. Intentional work. Quiet, focused, strategic work done when the world is sleeping, when distractions are low, when your mind is clearest and your ambitions are sharpest. And Rohn sharpened the lesson even further. Profits are better than wages. Wages make you a living. Profits make you a fortune. Wages are important. They pay the bills. But if you want to step beyond survival into freedom, you need to build something bigger than your paycheck. You need to invest, create, build assets that work for you even when you're not working. The mistake most people make: they wait for free time. They wait for the perfect conditions to start that side project, that investment study, that skill-building journey. But the truth is, the free time you're waiting for is already here, hidden in the quiet hours you're wasting. 1 hour a day. That's all it takes to start rewriting your financial story. 1 hour spent learning about investments instead of mindlessly consuming entertainment. 1 hour developing a skill that compounds over time into a second income. 1 hour building a business, a portfolio, a brand, a future that doesn't depend on a boss or a paycheck. It doesn't feel urgent until one day it is, until the job disappears, until the unexpected expense arrives, until the dreams you shelved start gathering so much dust they suffocate. And in that moment, you'll realize freedom was never built in grand decisions. It was built, or lost, in how you spent your quiet hours. But here's the beauty. It's never too late to start. The world is louder than ever. The distractions are endless. But there is always an hour, tucked somewhere between waking and sleeping, where you can reclaim your future. And if you stack enough of those hours, quietly, patiently, intentionally, they turn into something louder than words. They turn into ownership. They turn into sovereignty. They turn into a life where you don't just make a living, you make choices. Ask yourself now, what am I doing with my quiet hours? Am I investing them into a future of freedom or wasting them into a future of dependence? Because every hour matters, every small choice counts. And 1 year from today, you'll either be grateful you started or wish you had. Stack your hours. Stack your legacy. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to build a life that others can only admire, while others spend decades busy but never fulfilled? The answer isn't talent, it isn't luck, it's accumulation. Small, deliberate actions stacked one on top of the other, day after day, year after year, until they form something unbreakable, something undeniable, something called a legacy. Ralph Waldo Emerson captured it perfectly when he said, "Do not go where the path may lead. Go instead where there is no path and leave a trail." Legacy isn't following what's easy. It's carving out a path so distinct, so personal, so earned that others look at it and know, someone lived with intention here. But that kind of life, that kind of mark, is not created by inspiration alone. It's not created in bursts of motivation or occasional effort. It's created hour by hour, one disciplined decision, one quiet sacrifice, one small victory at a time. Jim Rohn's wisdom drives this home. Either you run the day, or the day runs you. Every hour that you don't consciously claim stacks itself against you. Every hour spent reacting instead of building, distracting instead of focusing, postponing instead of moving, it compounds silently into regret. But every hour you own, every hour you pour into your health, your mind, your craft, your financial independence, your relationships, that compounds too, into momentum, into mastery, into memories and milestones that no one can ever take from you. And here's the secret. Most people underestimate the power of an hour because the effects are not immediate. You can invest an hour today, and tomorrow look around and see nothing changed. So they quit. They tell themselves it's not working. They choose the short-term comfort over the long-term transformation. But those who persist, who trust the invisible compounding of effort, they wake up one day and realize the life they once dreamed of, the person they once hoped to become, the impact they once thought was impossible. It's here. Not because of a miracle, because of a method, because they stacked their hours like bricks, building something permanent while others were chasing shortcuts, because they understood that legacy is not a burst of glory at the end of life. It's the quiet discipline of how you live every day, starting now. So ask yourself, what am I stacking today? What invisible habits am I reinforcing? Will my future thank me for what I'm building or beg me to start over? Because your life is being built, whether you're conscious of it or not. You are always stacking something. The only question is whether you're stacking regret or greatness. Stack your hours, stack your excellence, stack your legacy, hour by hour, choice by choice, until the world has no choice but to recognize the quiet empire you built with your own hands. When you step back and look at the life you're building, it's not shaped by grand moments of inspiration. It's shaped by what you choose to do, or not do, with the small, quiet hours no one else sees. The hours that seem ordinary, the hours that seem forgettable. Those are the ones that decide everything. 1 hour a day is not a suggestion, it's a key to your future, your peace, your strength, your freedom. Because destiny isn't written in a day, it's written daily, in how you rise, in how you choose to begin, in what you protect, prioritize, and pour yourself into without needing applause, without waiting for permission. The people you admire didn't stumble into greatness. They stacked their hours. They guarded their mornings. They moved with direction, not just speed. They learned relentlessly. They practiced without seeking praise. They reflected, refined, and repeated, even when no one was watching. They prioritized their health, built their independence, and trusted that the quiet work would one day speak louder than any words. And now, you face the same choice. Not tomorrow, not next week. Now. Because if you wait for motivation, you'll spend your life waiting. But if you start today, even small, even imperfect, you'll wake up months from now, standing on ground you once only dreamed of reaching. So take 1 hour, one deliberate, sacred, disciplined hour. Guard it, honor it, shape it, and watch as it slowly, inevitably reshapes you. If this episode gave you something to think about, something to act on, take a moment to subscribe, share it with someone ready to reclaim their future, and leave a comment telling us, what will you dedicate your 1 hour to starting today? Because your future self isn't waiting for a miracle. They're waiting for you to start.